Howdy folks, I'm Hornet.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock!
I want to take some time today to talk about Broken Arrow and the direction it appears to be moving, along with some of the broad concerns I have for the game. Keep in mind that I will be discussing potential changes that are being tested on the test server. I wish to preface this conversation with a couple of notes before we begin. Note 1 is, this is all opinion-based. I'm not getting into the numbers and stats, nor am I suggesting that my way is the right way. I'm just sharing my perspective on the state of the game and where it seems to be heading. Note number 2 is, I'm very much a casual player. I do not study this game, nor am I really that good at it. I really don't have the time or the desire to put enough time into this game to become good at it. This is all feelings-based analysis from a very casual player. My intention is to highlight the needs and the perspective of casual players. It is my opinion that any game must properly balance the needs of the top-tier players with the needs of the casual players in order for the game to survive. If the high-skill side of the game is lacking, then there is nothing to strive towards. But if the casual side is lacking, then nobody new will want to keep playing the game. Either way, the player base will fall off, the game will die. I will attempt to keep the rest of this discussion fairly brief. Should you be interested in some deep dives into the real nitty-gritty of this game and the potential changes coming up, I would recommend other Broken Arrow content creators like N7 Shark, for example, who has some really good, in-depth content on this subject. My largest concern for Broken Arrow is that the devs might make too many changes too fast. Whether they themselves are genuinely unhappy with how their original vision turned out, or the loud and constant pressure from unhappy players is the cause for this, I cannot say. However, I am concerned with the sheer amount of complicated changes being tested at the same time on the test servers. Basic scientific practice when testing a new hypothesis is to isolate a single change in an otherwise controlled environment, to study how that one change affects all the other things or systems around it. Perhaps I'm just a bit autistic with my aversion to change, but the massive number of changes simultaneously happening on the test server makes me a bit nervous.
Hey, that's pretty good.
To further expound upon the changes, I would like to dig very briefly into all of the changes being done to air combat. To clarify, when I say air combat, I am referring holistically to all air combat interactions. This includes ground-to-air, air-to-air, and air-to-ground combat. All of these systems interact with and influence each other. In the test server, the devs are testing changes that affect both AA batteries as well as air-to-air missiles by removing the overkill mechanic entirely from both systems. At the same time, they are testing other smaller changes to ground-based AA. At the same time again, they are also testing changes to air-to-ground weaponry in several small ways. That's a lot of interoperating changes. To try and sum up my concern here, I would say it seems to me that the devs originally had a vision for how the game systems would interact. Upon receiving player feedback, it seems to me that the devs should have considered small and careful adjustments, for example, to the overkill system, rather than just turning the system off entirely and trying to rebalance everything that was built for an overkill system to now somehow operate without an overkill system at all. Perhaps instead, introduction of a toggle switch for players to choose for themselves the behavior of their units. Perhaps a button to tell, say, a Patriot battery to focus on seed, and then another Patriot battery to focus on cruise missiles or jets. This could be an interesting way to both give players more agency and also allow for better AA nets without throwing away the overkill system entirely and the way jets currently function within the game. The last major concern I'm going to discuss is what appears to be a trend towards rewarding mass unit gameplay over fewer high-quality unit gameplay. As previously stated, I'm not a big RTS player, so if there are official terms for these concepts, feel free to educate me in the comments. Regardless, it is very clear that optimal play involves managing more units more efficiently than your opponent. And I'll be real with you, I'm not so great at that. That's a pure skill issue on my part. I'll also add, however, that I don't want to be good at that. That kind of gameplay does not interest me. I don't find it fun. What I am interested in is taking a few high-value units and squeezing the most out of them that I can. For example, I love taking specialty units like tows or javelins and setting them up with overlapping fields of fire and trying to keep them supported with light and fast armor. This brings me to the next change the devs are currently testing: the reduction of available specialty infantry units. The current test has the number of special infantry units that a player can choose to bring cut in half. Things like tow launcher squads and javelin squads have been limited down to 2 units each. This appears to me to be very much in line with removing my preferred playstyle, while encouraging frontline infantry meat grinder style gameplay. The kind of tactics we already see from the Russian faction pretty consistent. Now, I suspect that the devs have legitimate reasons for trying these changes. However, to me, it feels like my choices as a player are being stripped down in order to corral me into a specific playstyle, and I don't like that feeling at all. In closing, I'll add that I don't mean to be all negative about Broken Arrow. It's a fun game with solid and fun gameplay, and I have high hopes for it moving forward. I'm not sure just how much of it I'll be playing in the near future, simply because it is becoming harder and harder to get 4 of my friends to actually get online at the same time to play it with me. And unfortunately, solo queuing in Broken Arrow is one of the most god-awful, painful gaming experiences I've ever participated in. I have been asked to make a more in-depth jet guide video, and I did agree to work on one. Unfortunately, with all these potential changes being announced that may or may not come to the game, I'm having to put the project on hold, because it obviously doesn't make sense to make a jet guide when we don't know how jets are going to play in the near future when the devs finish their testing and implement whatever changes they decide to implement. And that's all I got for today. Drop a comment and let me know how wrong I am, how right I am, or what your own concerns are. And I'll see you guys in the next one.